This shouldn't have happened. A small Arctic club, freezing temperatures, tiny budget, and yet, Europe was shaken. Bodø, Glimt's rise, in just a good football story. It's one of the most shocking transformations in modern European football, from relegation battles and financial struggles to humiliating established continental giants. This club from above the Arctic Circle rewrote what's possible for teams outside the traditional power structure. For decades, Norwegian football was dominated by Rosenborg. Bodø, Glimt were never supposed to challenge that hierarchy. Founded in 1916 and based in a town with barely 50,000 people, they lived most of their history in the shadow of bigger cities and richer institutions. They bounced between divisions. They survived more than they thrived. In 2017, they were playing in Norway's second tier. Just a few years later, they were champions of Eliteserien. Not once, but repeatedly, and not by grinding out narrow victories. They dominated. The turning point came with a clear identity. When Kjetil Knutsen took over as head coach, Bodø, Glimt didn't try to copy bigger clubs. They built something tailored to their reality. Limited budget, difficult climate, modest facilities. Instead of chasing star names, they focused on recruitment precision, tactical cohesion, and player development. Their football was aggressive, vertical, and fearless. High pressing became a signature. Quick transitions, constant movement off the ball, wide overloads, full backs attacking like wingers, midfielders rotating dynamically. Every player understood spacing. Every player pressed with intention. This wasn't chaos. It was controlled intensity. In 2020, Bodø, Glimt didn't just win the Eliteserien title. They obliterated it. They scored goals at a historic rate. They broke records. They played some of the most entertaining football Scandinavia had seen in years. Their XG numbers were elite. Their pressing metrics were among the highest in Europe relative to league strength. And they did it with a squad assembled for a fraction of what mid-table clubs in bigger leagues spend on a single player. Critics said it was a one-season miracle, a perfect storm. But 2021 proved otherwise. They won again. Different squad pieces, same identity. That consistency exposed the real secret behind their rise. System over stars. Bodø, Glimt mastered the art of buying low, developing fast, and selling smart. They identified undervalued players domestically and abroad. They gave them tactical clarity and confidence. Then they sold them for profit and reinvested strategically. Instead of collapsing after departures, the structure absorbed the loss. Replacements were already integrated into the philosophy. European nights elevated their reputation. When they faced AS Roma in the UEFA Conference League, few outside Norway paid attention. Then came the shock. A 6-1 demolition of a Jose Mourinho side. It wasn't a lucky counterattack masterclass. It was structural superiority on the night. Roma couldn't handle the tempo, the width, or the relentless pressing triggers. The Arctic underdogs outplayed a European giant. That result wasn't an isolated fluke. Bodø, Glimt consistently competed in Europe, advancing through qualifying rounds and troubling established clubs. Their home advantage became legendary. Artificial turf, cold conditions, and synchronized pressing created an environment visiting teams struggled to decode. But climate alone doesn't beat top sides. Tactical automation does. Their use of space is particularly fascinating. The wingers stretch the pitch aggressively, pinning fullbacks deep. The central striker often drops into half spaces, dragging center backs out of shape. Midfielders exploit the vacated channels with timed third-man runs. Overloads form naturally because players rotate without losing positional discipline. This creates passing triangles that accelerate ball progression instead of recycling possession aimlessly. Defensively, they compress the field vertically. The back line pushes high. The goalkeeper acts as a sweeper. Pressing traps are set wide, forcing opponents toward the touch line before collapsing collectively. It's risk-heavy football, but the risk is rehearsed. The distances between players are calibrated. Recovery runs are drilled. Transition defense is immediate. Financially, Bodø, Glimt represent one of the most efficient models in modern football. Revenue growth followed European exposure. but spending remained controlled. Instead of inflating wages recklessly, they reinforced infrastructure, analytics, and scouting networks. Sustainability wasn't a slogan, it became operational reality. Another underrated factor in their rise is cultural stability. Northern Norway, in an easy place to relocate to, long winters, limited daylight, geographic isolation. But the club turned that into a filter. Players who committed were fully invested. The dressing room culture emphasized humility and collective responsibility. No superstar ego could override the tactical framework. Even when key players departed for bigger leagues, the identity persisted. That continuity proves the project wasn't dependent on a golden generation. It was built on alignment, board vision, coaching philosophy, recruitment logic, and players. They proved that innovation doesn't require billion-euro budgets. And perhaps most importantly, they restored belief for smaller clubs across Europe. Their rise also reshaped perceptions of Eliteserien. Norwegian football was often dismissed as a stepping stone league. Bodø, Glimt turned it into a laboratory for tactical evolution and talent export. Scouts now monitor Norway more closely. Opponents prepare differently. Respect has replaced indifference. Was there momentum? Yes. Was there timing? Absolutely. But luck alone doesn't create repeatable dominance. Luck doesn't produce back-to-back titles. Luck doesn't generate consistent European performances. What Bodø, Glimt built was intentional. And the story in over. As long as the structure remains intact, as long as recruitment stays disciplined, and as long as the tactical identity evolves without abandoning its core principles, Bodø, Glimt will remain dangerous. A club from the Arctic Circle changed modern Norwegian football. They embarrassed giants. They rewrote expectations. And they did it without abandoning who they are. This wasn't random. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't luck. This was vision, execution, and belief, executed to perfection in one of the most unlikely places in European football.